Hello, I am Michelle Hanley and I teach 11th grade English in Sacramento at Sacramento Charter High School, and this is my unit plan on juvenile justice. This unit is adapted from the CSU Model 2, which is designed for seniors in high school, and they also offer many other interesting relevant topics. Within this unit, students will tackle the big question of should teenagers accused of violent crimes be tried and sentenced as adults? Their summative assessment is an argumentative essay in which they have to answer the big question of how teenage criminals or suspects should be treated. This unit is supposed to take about 10 days and concludes with a class debate. In terms of assessments, there's pre-formative, formative, and summative assessments. Here is the pre-formative one. Okay. So here you can see where I'm getting a snapshot of students' pre-unit views on who counts as a juvenile, the differences between adults and juveniles, and when someone is actually considered an adult. Following all this, I give students 4 scenarios, 4 situations of a crime, and they have to record what they think the crime was, if the suspect counts as a juvenile or an adult, and how the person, or how they think the person was tried and sentenced. I also have a summative assessment here. So here it has the prompt for the argumentative essay. It has the big question of should teenagers accused of violent crimes be tried and sentenced as adults? Why or why not? As the prompt. Then it's followed by stuff like formatting information, indentation, basically just things like the rubric to help the students make sure that their writing is up to the standard for where their goal is. Following all this, here is a 2-week overview of the unit. You have all the daily objectives, you have a list of standards that I'm hitting each day. That's just like the general overview. Down below, I have a more detailed version of the daily plans and what I will be covering each day. So, here on the first day, the students take the pre-formative assessment like you saw earlier, and they're introduced to some key vocabulary dealing with the legal system. On the second day, students will read 2 articles, Kids Are Kids Until They Commit Crime and Startling Finds on Teenage Brains, where they have to identify and analyze the argument and purpose of each text. On the third day, they'll read a Supreme Court to Rule and analyze the author's message and rhetorical devices. They will compare and contrast the different rights that juveniles have compared to adults. Part of this unit really focuses on students being able to objectively summarize a text, because that's a standard where they really lack mastery according to our beginning of the year diagnostic, and even now according to the finals they just had. So students will also be creating an objective summary of each article they read in this unit. On day 4, which is Thursday, students will read Many Kids Called Unfit for Adult Trial and analyze that article's argument, purpose, and rhetorical devices. On day 5, they're going to learn how to write a rhetorical précis, which is an effective manner of summarizing and or paraphrasing a text, and it's useful when you need to cite a writer and his or her work in a paper. On this day, I'll be using an I do, we do, you do approach for teaching the strategy, and the class will work together to write a rhetorical précis for the article Startling Finds on Teenage Brains. Okay, on the first day of the second week, so that would be day 6, students will do a Socratic seminar in which I'll give them a somewhat recent juvenile criminal case, and they'll have to work together to interpret the information at hand to determine what biases the authors of the documents might have. On day 7, Tuesday, students will learn about the rhetorical appeals of ethos, logos, and pathos. They're going to identify the appeals in a text and then create their own to support some given statements that I'll provide in class. Finally, they're going to create their statements using rhetorical appeals for their own argumentative essays. On the 8th day, students are going to have a quiz on the rhetorical appeals, and they'll learn about counter arguments, where they're going to have to identify which counter arguments go with some given arguments, and they'll have to write their own. On the second to last day, students will watch part of a documentary called Prison Kids, Juvenile Justice in America, where they're going to have to identify and explain the effectiveness of the use of rhetorical appeals in the film. And then our very last day, Friday, which is day 10 of the unit, students will have a class debate on the big question of should teenagers accused of violent crimes be tried and sentenced as adults. They are going to be given time to reflect on the effectiveness of each side of the debate. They'll already have been given their essay prompts on day 6 of the unit, so their essays will also be due this day. That pretty much wraps up my unit on juvenile justice. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch and listen to this video.